So you believe that aliens could exist. You believe in the possibility of warp drive. Maybe you even believe in Atlantis as well. First, let me give you some background information on myself. I loved science fiction growing up. I read Frank Herbert's Dune series as a child. I love Star Wars and Star Trek The Next Generation. We are going to examine some of the ideas that you see in these films and books. First, let's examine warp drive. How would it be possible to go faster than the speed of light? The scientific answer? Warp drive, which is literally an object that can warp space itself. What exactly does warp theory propose, and what are the admitted problems? First, let's look at the theory itself. Alcubierre warp theory, in the simplest sense, proposes that you can violate various energy conditions and do so with exotic matter that isn't known to exist. So basically, you are breaking the universal laws that are set in place and doing so by magical exotic matter, like the lithium crystals that you find in science fiction, like Star Trek. Now, this didn't work out so well for Napoleon Dynamite and his magic crystal-based time machine. Perhaps his crystals were not exotic enough. Now, the funny thing is that scientists actually debate whether someone who breaks the laws of the universe with exotic matter that doesn't exist would then be hindered by those laws in creating the warp bubble itself, traveling in it, and exiting it, when they broke the laws of the universe to make the warp bubble in the first place. Here are some of the admitted problems of Alcubierre warp theory. It has been argued that the energy requirements for some warp drives may be absurdly gigantic. For example, the energy equivalent of 10 to the 67th power grams might be required to transport a small starship across the Milky Way galaxy. This is greater than the mass of the entire universe. Now, I contend, why should this be a problem? After all, warp drive breaks the laws of the universe to even be in existence, right? Now, we actually have counter arguments by other scientists that we can get this fuel requirement down. Chris Vandenbroek in 1999 said that he was able to reduce the total energy needed to transport small atoms to less than 3 solar masses. This is the energy of 3 of our suns. No big deal, right? The energy of 3 suns. Later, by slightly modifying the Vandenbroek metric, Sergei Krasnov, this is the other heavyweight in the faster-than-light technology business. I like to think of Alcubierre and Krasnov as the Coke and Pepsi of the wonderful world of warp drives. Anyway, Krasnov, who I suppose is one hell of a chess player as well, as warp thinker-upper guy, reduced the necessary total amount of negative energy to a few milligrams. Now we are getting somewhere, right? Now, what the hell is negative energy? Negative energy is exotic matter that doesn't exist. Darn, just when they had it all figured out. When doing a Google search on negative energy, you will get this result. I particularly like the last link, Dungeons and Dragons. Well, at least somebody figured out where we're going to get this magical exotic matter. Now we have one more problem with warp drive. Warp drive super thinker upper guy, Alcubierre, has now said that maybe they can somehow lay down a kind of highway by conventional means, and that later a craft can then travel over this highway at warp speed. Again, we have a counter-argument by Professor D.H. Kuhl, who has argued that schemes such as the one proposed by Alcubierre are not feasible because the matter to be placed on the road beforehand has to be placed at superluminal speed. Superluminal simply means faster than light. If you're going to make up imaginary technology, you need some fancy scientific words to go with them, right? According to Kuhl, an Alcubierre drive is required in order to build an Alcubierre drive. Bummer. Again, why are we letting common sense and mathematical rules get in the way of our warp drive. It required breaking the mathematical rules of the universe and magic crystals to work in the first place. Now we have the last criticism of warp drive. After creating this warp bubble, you would have no way to leave the bubble once inside it. Again, I say, boo! We are breaking the laws of the universe here to make the bubble in the first place. Why should we not be able to break the laws of the universe to travel and exit in the bubble? So there you have it, folks. Warp drive is possible, but we are arguing all the wrong things. We are bringing reality into magic. I intend to go back to college and major in mathematics so that I can propose my own warp theory. I contend that since I am breaking the laws of the universe, I don't need a spaceship, I don't need a warp drive. I am simply going to bypass both and imagine myself being in another star system. This theory can't be argued with mathematics because it doesn't follow mathematical rules. It is just like warp drive theory, except I have cleverly removed the warp drive. Now this is where the Church of Science will argue that people thought flight was impossible before the airplane. My rebuttal? Show me one man-made invention that has ever broke the mathematical laws of the universe. This brings us to aliens. I contend that any alien ship is pointless. Anyone that can break the mathematical rules of the universe doesn't need a ship or exotic matter. They wouldn't be subject to things that mere biological creatures like us need either. They could simply create a magic bubble around themselves to sustain them in a hostile environment. This magic bubble would rely on the same science that's behind warp drive technology. If the environment around you can't sustain you, simply change it. I mean, that is how you got here in the first place, right? Magic. To put it simply, aliens that could travel to Earth are gods. To believe that anyone could travel faster than the speed of light, you are believing in a god or gods. This is why aliens are often referred to as star gods. Assigning them rules is simply silly. A star god would not have to travel in a ship. Therefore, using common sense, I contend that any alien ship that has ever been seen is made by a mere biological local life form and is a hoax. Now, who would try to pull off such a hoax? And how can I prove that flying saucers and any alien aircraft that have been seen, like the open triangular-shaped alien aircraft in the Phoenix Lights, is a deception? This is the Kabbalah Sephiroth, also known as the Tree of Life, without all the geometry filled in. What exactly is it? This is the key to understanding everything that is going on in the world today, and it explains much of what has went on in the past as well. Now this is going to sound a little wacky, but please hear me out. I have shown you that the belief that aliens could travel to Earth is pure science fiction, unless they are gods themselves. There is a reason people like Stephen Hawking are now claiming aliens are real and are a threat. Many of the richest and most influential people in the world believe in the Kabbalah's teachings. The Sephiroth is the foundation for all magic societies and practitioners of the occult in the world. Now, am I claiming that real magic exists? No. If I did, I would be claiming that aliens are real and that crop circles are from mystical origin, instead of men making them with a plank of wood and rope. I am telling you that people actually believe in this stuff.